Long ago, in the sun-drenched lands of ancient Greece, where the gods toyed with the fates of men, there was born a creature so fearsome that its very name struck terror into the hearts of those who heard it, the Minotaur. But to understand the beast, one must first know the tale of its cursed origin, a story woven from pride, betrayal, and divine wrath. It began with King Minos of Crete, a mighty ruler who prayed to Poseidon, god of the seas, to bless his reign with a sign of favor. The earth-shaker heard his plea and from the frothing waves sent forth a magnificent white bull, pure as the foam upon the tide. This was no ordinary beast, but a creature of divine beauty, meant to be sacrificed in honor of the gods. But when Minos beheld the bull's splendor, greed coiled around his heart. How could he destroy such a magnificent creature? Surely the gods would not miss it. And so, in his arrogance, he kept the bull for himself, offering a lesser beast in its place. Poseidon, who sees all that happens upon his waters, was not fooled. His wrath was swift and terrible. He cursed the bull with madness, making it savage and untamable. But his vengeance did not end there, for the gods punished not only the sinner, but often those around them as well. Queen Pasiphae, the wife of Minos, was struck with an unnatural desire for the white bull. Consumed by a passion she could not control, she sought the help of Daedalus, the greatest craftsman of the age. With cunning artifice, he built for her a hollow cow, so lifelike that the bull was deceived. From this unholy union was born a child, but no ordinary child. The infant had the body of a man, but the head and tail of a bull, a monstrous hybrid that wailed with a voice neither human nor beast. This was the Minotaur, a living testament to the folly of kings and the cruelty of gods. Horrified, Minos could not bring himself to kill the creature, for it was still of his blood, yet neither could he allow it to roam freely, for it grew stronger with each passing day, its hunger for flesh becoming insatiable. And so the king turned again to Daedalus, commanding him to build a prison from which the beast could never escape. Thus was born the labyrinth, a maze so vast and twisting that none who entered could ever find their way out. And deep within its shadowed heart, the Minotaur waited, its roars echoing through the stone corridors, a nightmare given form. As the Minotaur grew, so too did its rage. The creature, trapped in the endless twists of Daedalus's labyrinth, became a thing of pure hunger and fury. Its monstrous bellowing echoed through the halls, a sound that chilled the bones of even the bravest men. King Minos, though he had hoped to contain the shame of his household, soon found that the beast's existence could not be ignored, for the gods demanded retribution. It was not long before Crete faced a terrible calamity. The earth shook, the seas raged, and plague struck the land. The oracle spoke of divine displeasure, whispering that the Minotaur was an abomination that must be fed, lest its wrath spill beyond the labyrinth and doom them all. And so, Minos devised a cruel and bloody solution. Word was sent to the city of Athens, a rival kingdom that had once defied Crete. Minos accused them of treachery and demanded a grim tribute. Every 9 years, 7 young men and 7 maidens would be sent into the labyrinth, never to return. The Athenians, bound by fear and the might of Crete's navy, had no choice but to obey. The first tribute was the hardest. The chosen youths, clad in funeral garments, were paraded through the streets of Crete before being cast into the darkness of the maze. Their cries faded into the abyss, swallowed by the endless corridors. The Minotaur, smelling their fear, hunted them like a beast in the wild, its horns dripping with blood by the night's end. Years passed, and the cycle repeated. The labyrinth became a tomb for the innocent, its walls stained with the memories of those who had perished within. The people of Athens wept, their hatred for Minos festering like an open wound, but none dared defy him until a prince, bold and burning with vengeance, stepped forward. His name was Theseus. The son of Aegeus, king of Athens, Theseus could not bear to see his people sacrificed any longer. When the next tribute was called, he volunteered to be among the 7 youths sent to Crete. His father, stricken with grief, begged him to reconsider, but Theseus was resolute. He swore that he would slay the Minotaur and break the cycle of blood, or die trying. And so, the ship with black sails, a sign of mourning, carried him to Crete, where King Minos himself looked upon the proud Athenian prince with cold amusement. Did this boy truly believe he could conquer the unconquerable? Little did Minos know, Theseus was not alone in his quest. For waiting in the shadows of Crete's palace was a woman who held the key to the labyrinth's secrets, Princess Ariadne, the daughter of Minos, and her heart, for reasons of love or rebellion, was already turning against her father. Princess Ariadne had watched the sacrifices for years, her heart growing heavier with each cycle. The wails of the doomed youths haunted her dreams, and the monstrous roars of her half-brother, the Minotaur, filled her with a shame she could not escape. But when Theseus arrived, proud, defiant, his eyes burning with purpose, something within her stirred. She had seen many Athenians dragged into the labyrinth, but none like him. They came trembling, resigned to their fate. Theseus walked as if he had already decided the beast's doom. That night, in secret, Ariadne sought him out. She had no love for her father's cruelty, nor for the monster that lurked beneath the palace. And so, she offered Theseus the one thing that could ensure his victory, a way to conquer the labyrinth itself. From the folds of her gown, she produced a simple ball of thread. "This," she whispered, "will be your guide. Tie one end to the entrance, and as you go deeper, let it unravel behind you. When the deed is done, follow it back, and no twist or turn will betray you." Theseus studied her, weighing her intent. Was this a trick? A test? But Ariadne's gaze held no deceit, only desperation, and perhaps something softer. She pressed further. "I will ensure you have a weapon. The Minotaur cannot be slain bare-handed." Theseus accepted her gifts, but his voice was firm. "And what do you ask in return?" Ariadne hesitated only a moment. "Take me with you when you leave Crete." The prince agreed. When the day of the sacrifice came, the chosen Athenians were marched to the labyrinth's entrance, a gaping maw of stone that seemed to breathe cold air. The guards shoved them inside, sealing the door behind them. Darkness swallowed them whole. But Theseus was ready. He fastened the thread, letting it trail behind him as he led the trembling youths deeper into the maze. The walls seemed to shift around them, the very air thick with the stench of blood and old terror. Somewhere in the blackness, something snorted, pawed at the ground. The Minotaur was near. Theseus turned to the others. "Stay here. Do not move from this spot." Then, gripping the sword Ariadne had smuggled to him, he stepped forward alone into the heart of the beast's domain. The deeper Theseus ventured into the labyrinth, the heavier the air became, thick with the stench of wet stone, old blood, and something far worse. The walls seemed to pulse around him as if the maze itself were alive, breathing, watching. The only sound was the faint scrape of the thread unraveling behind him, his lifeline back to the world of men. Then came the growl, low, guttural, vibrating through the stone beneath his feet. Theseus froze, his grip tightening on his sword. He had hunted boars and faced bandits, but this was no ordinary beast. This was something born of gods and nightmares. A hot puff of air brushed his neck. Theseus spun just as the Minotaur lunged from the shadows. The creature was enormous, muscle and rage given form, its bull's head slick with sweat and gore, its eyes wild with a hunger that had never been sated. It swung its horns first, a killing blow that would have gutted a lesser man. Theseus barely dodged, rolling aside as the beast crashed into the wall, sending fragments of stone flying. The Minotaur roared, the sound shaking dust from the ceiling. It charged again, faster this time, its hooves pounding like war drums. Theseus raised his sword, but the beast was relentless. A horn grazed his side, sending a hot streak of pain up his ribs. He gritted his teeth and swung, steel meeting flesh with a wet thud. The Minotaur bellowed, more in fury than pain. It reared back, blood dripping from its shoulder, and for the first time, Theseus saw something beyond mindless hunger in its eyes. Recognition. This was no mere animal. It knew what he was, it knew why he had come, and it hated him for it. The beast attacked with renewed fury, its blows shaking the very ground. Theseus fought not just for his life now, but for every soul the Minotaur had taken, for every cry that had gone unanswered in this cursed maze. He ducked, weaved, struck, each movement desperate, each breath burning. Then, as the Minotaur charged once more, Theseus saw his chance. He sidestepped at the last moment, driving his sword deep into the beast's side, up through its ribs into the heart. The Minotaur shuddered. Its breath came in wet, ragged gasps. For a heartbeat, it stood there, swaying, its great head turning slightly as if to look at him one last time. Then it collapsed. Silence. Theseus stood over the beast, his chest heaving, blood slick on his hands. The deed was done. The monster was slain. But the labyrinth still surrounded him, its walls whispering of older, deeper secrets, and somewhere above, King Minos would soon learn that his reign of terror had ended. Theseus turned, following the thread back to the light, and to the princess who had made his victory possible. The moment Theseus emerged from the labyrinth, bloodied but triumphant, Ariadne knew her life in Crete was over. She had betrayed her father, a crime punishable by death. And the moment King Minos learned of the Minotaur's demise, his wrath would be boundless. Grasping Theseus's arm, she urged him toward the harbor under cover of night. With them fled the surviving Athenian youths and Daedalus himself, the architect of the labyrinth, who had long grown weary of being Minos' prisoner. The old craftsman knew the seas better than any man alive, and under his guidance, their ship cut through the waves like a blade. Theseus's ship reached Naxos under cover of night. Whether by divine intervention or his own choice, he left Ariadne sleeping on the beach, her thread and betrayal of Crete now repaid with abandonment. As dawn broke, the princess woke to find herself alone. The Athenian ships already specks on the horizon, but the fates had other plans. Dionysus, god of wine and ecstasy, had long desired Ariadne. Finding her weeping on the shore, he lifted her into his chariot and carried her to Olympus, where she became immortal. In his grief and haste, Theseus had forgotten one crucial promise, the signal that would tell his father of his survival. For waiting on the cliffs of Athens, old King Aegeus peered desperately at the horizon, searching for his son's ship. Theseus had sworn to raise white sails if he lived, black if he perished. But the sails remained black, and seeing them, Aegeus let out a cry that echoed across the rocks before hurling himself into the sea below. By the time Theseus arrived, it was too late. The waters that would one day bear his father's name, the Aegean, had already claimed him. Victory had come at a cost far greater than Theseus had ever imagined. The Athenians welcomed Theseus as a hero, but his heart was heavy. He had slain the Minotaur, broken Crete's bloody tribute, and now wore his father's crown. Yet the cost had been too great. Ariadne abandoned, Aegeus dead. The gods, it seemed, demanded a price for every victory. As for the labyrinth, it stood empty on Crete, its corridors silent but for the whispers of the wind. King Minos, shamed by the Minotaur's death and Daedalus's escape, would meet his own fate years later, not in the maze, but in Sicily. Slain by the daughters of a rival king he sought to punish. The Minotaur faded into legend, a cautionary tale of pride and divine wrath. But in the dark of night, sailors near Crete sometimes swore they heard a distant bellow beneath the waves, as if the earth itself remembered the beast. Theseus ruled Athens for many years, his name etched among the great heroes. Yet he would learn too late. No man escapes the threads the fates weave. His own story would end in betrayal and exile, another lesson in the gods' cruel humor. And that, my friends, is the tale of the Minotaur. To keep listening to more stories like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, this is Uncle Ben signing off. Take care, and may the gods watch over you.